What it is. It's Friday. That's what it is. March 23rd, 2018, in case you've been sleeping like Doshi. He actually just got here minutes before the show started, when it had already started on that other platform. Hey, Doshi, you're still awake a little? Are you ready for the show? Yes. He's already told me what to talk about today. He thinks this guy, John Bolton's a prick. Well, it's because he's anti-war. You can't blame him. He doesn't identify as conservative or liberal, actually. I get actually most of my advice from Doshi. Welcome to Friday's show. I'm going to talk about John Bolton. I have some clips pulled. I'll talk about, I have a lot of clips about him. I'm going to talk about Donald Trump in general and his idea of foreign policy and where things might be headed. I was thinking of titling this episode "The End of the World as We Know It," because we have John Bolton, Mike Pompeo as Secretary of State now. We have Nikki Haley, who we've had. We have to think, these are all the people Trump wants. So we're going to talk about Donald Trump too. We're going to ask some hard questions for people who might think that this is all a 4D chess move and that peace will follow. Peace with Iran, peace with North Korea. We're also in the middle of a trade war, or we've started one. Donald Trump, unilaterally. And it's for this guy who is taking credit now for the stock market reaching record highs every day since he's taken office. That's an exaggeration. Record highs on and on and on ever since he's taken office, taking full credit for the stock market and equating it with a good economy. We'll talk about what happened in the stock market over the last couple of days, or week, I should say. Then we'll cover a little other news, and I will take phone calls today. And as I did yesterday, I will provide a lead-in for another live show, which is after mine. That is part of an effort to collaborate, even when we are different. The person that follows me, today at least, that's quite frankly, and myself. And you might not like his show, but we're trying to get some collaboration. Hopefully, he'll do the same in return. And then we can, because people don't know about each other. We have to talk about all these other channels and truthers. And we're working on a way to bring them all together in one place. We've talked about it a few times before, hinted at it. We'll continue to hint at it as we draw the plans in place. Let me start out with a clip of our Donald Trump's new national security advisor as of April 9th, I believe he says in one interview. I spent my time this morning watching quite a few interviews. We'll play some stuff from him and get on with the show. Sound good? Let's get started.
You, sir, Ambassador, are there any diplomatic options left in your view?
I think the only diplomatic option left is to end the regime in North Korea by effectively having the South take it over. I think you've got to argue to China.
That's not really diplomatic, as far as they're concerned.
Well, that's their problem, not ours, because anybody who thinks that more diplomacy with North Korea or sanctions, whether against North Korea or an effort to apply sanctions against China, is just giving North Korea more time to increase its nuclear arsenal, increase its ballistic missile capability, increase the accuracy of its guidance systems, and put us, South Korea, and Japan in more jeopardy. We have fooled around with North Korea for 25 years, and fooling around some more is just going to make matters worse.
Yeah,
Okay, cue musical intro. Boy, that's brilliant. I do think some things in the world are real. Like you guys. You guys are real. Most of you. Most of my listeners, I think, are not just in my head. I think I have the metrics to prove it. You've taken a leap of faith today. What is that sound? And I apologize if you take offense. I'm a little offended myself. Welcome to our show. Welcome to the future. What it is, joining you live from sunny California. It's a beautiful day today. I'm your host, Nathan Stoltman. I bring you the news, the real news. Almost every single day. Let's start out the show by saying thank you for being here. Thank you, as always, for finding me on many different platforms, including my podcast, which you can find at Lift the Veil on iTunes or Stitcher or SoundCloud, BitChute, on Steemit, Twitter even, YouTube, which is hard to do. You're at Lift the Veil Live, where we do live shows for right now, and twitch.tv/lifttheveil411, which is the most reliable place you can find me if I ever disappear. And that can happen in an instant, it turns out, without warning and without justification. So because I can disappear at any time, I keep putting this thing into your heads because from what I understand of that platform so far, I'll still be there from day to day, and there's some predictability. People are watching me there now. Thank you guys on Twitch for tuning in. And again, if you want to do that, download that app, follow me, turn on notifications. You'll get a notification every time I go live, and I do extra shows on there too, and they're all saved to watch after the fact. So that's enough of a commercial for that. Let me run a commercial let me tell you first, this channel, Lift the Veil Live, as long as it's still available to go live tomorrow, will be on the scene at the March for Our Lives Los Angeles. This is the gun control rally allegedly organized by teenagers across the country, but mostly from Parkland, Florida, to call for more gun control. So I want to go down there and maybe ask some questions that they might not get from the other mainstream from mainstream journalists who happen to be there as well. Don't know if there's going to be a counter protest. It's always good to get conflict as far as, people tuning in and stuff, but I'm not sure there's going to be any there. It's kind of a family-friendly rally from the way it's designed, at least the way it's promoted. I'll be there and plan to be live streaming by about 8 a.m. my time, and I'm on the West Coast, and that would be 11 a.m. on the East Coast, maybe around 3 or 4 p.m. in Europe. I'm not sure with daylight savings time. Okay, so make sure to tune in for that. Mark your calendar. I'll be there tomorrow as long as everything's good. Just got to wake up early, drive there, and do the whole thing. And people know rallies with Lift the Veil are generally very exciting. Hopefully this time Antifa won't steal my phone, but we don't expect Antifa to be there. Finally, as far as sponsors, I am my own sponsor on this channel. And what I do is I make something, t-shirts. Actually, I have a partner who helps me with that. Truth Matters is one of the shirts. I think I'll wear this. Here, you can see it in total. I think I'll wear that tomorrow to the rally. Maybe even see if somebody wants to buy it. But to buy those things and support the show, and they're printed by hand here in California, not the digital bullshit. You can go to truthclothing.io. The brand is Truth Revolution Clothing. Just came up with that. These are the 3 latest shirts. I was wearing my mostly real shirt yesterday. They're all pretty great. Just ordered another run of Russian bot shirts. So anybody who couldn't get their size because we were selling out, you can get them now. So, and shipping is cheap, generally under $3, and there's no sales tax. So it's actually a pretty great way to support the show and actually get something for it. So I appreciate everybody who's done that so far, and tons of great feedback on that too. I'm telling you, we do a good job. We might help other channels make t-shirts if they want. We're interested in sharing. So, and as for other channels, let me promote this. I was on a roundtable discussion with Victoris Libertas, and I'll drop a link to this in the chat right now so people can maybe load it up to watch. Victorus Libertas and a number of other channels were totally taken off YouTube. This channel was also taken off YouTube, mostly after the events in Florida. And before that, it started with the events in Vegas. This channel was shut down once, has been taken off the internet twice. Once, actually, it was from David Seaman asking all of his listeners to flag every video on my channel. And then that subsequently got me a couple strikes and then one more, and I was gone. This time it was because of this crazy push, this ADL, SPLC sponsored push to just get everything that's not the official story off the internet. So just for complete brainwashing. And that is going to be maybe successful. So the thing that I think about is we've all had the chance, the opportunity, hopefully, once we figured out 9/11 was an inside job, or maybe that Sandy Hook, that we know what happened there at Sandy Hook. And then we were able to go around YouTube and search videos and see lots of different people's opinions about what happened where, what might not have been the official story. Well, now everything that might not be the official story is taken off of YouTube. So the future, the youth, will never be able to see it. So someone proposed, I was watching somebody say that's, I think, or I was talking about it, that's the idea, is that they're already too late with us. Who was talking? Anyway, doesn't matter. That they're already too late with us, but they're going to make sure this next generation has no access to alternative ideas for the way reality is. And that is the ultimate suppression of speech. And that's what we talked about on this roundtable, which is right here. And I'll put a link in the chat. This was with Victorus Libertas, whose main channel is gone, who is on a backup channel and struggling to get new subscribers. It hasn't had hardly any views just because of that. Only a little over 1,000 subscribers right now on their channel. They had maybe 50,000, I think, when they disappeared. I'll give you the link right here in the chat. So if you want to queue it up to watch later. On this show appeared myself, Titus Frost, the Liberty columnist, Jordan Sather, Dustin Nemos, Dean Ryan, Alex Studer, I don't know all these people, and Victorus Libertas. Okay, so it was a very interesting discussion with a diverse group of people. David Seaman, it actually opens by saying that David Seaman, who was meant to be on the panel, canceled at the last minute because there was a YouTuber that was going to be on the panel who he had a problem with. That's me, unfortunately, or fortunately, I'm not sure. But I was going to be on the panel with him all the same, even though he shut down my channel a long time ago. And that's what we were talking about, is shutting down channels. So anyway, that was an interesting discussion. I was watching it last night, and you should watch it as well and then share it, because it is a big segment of truthers kind of getting together and talking. Now, let me see if I went over all the pre-show stuff. I think I did. And a reminder, I'll take calls later. What the opinion I have about John Bolton is not unique. Okay, so it's basically what the mainstream media narrative is about John Bolton as well, but I still wanted to do some research on my own, see kind of what he said before, et cetera, et cetera. Vox wrote an article critical of him, explaining him, saying he's called for war with both Iran and North Korea. CNN wrote an article about him, John Bolton on bombing Iran, North Korea, Russia, and the Iraq War. The guy's just a complete a-hole. Kept pushing the story that Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction and needed to be overthrown. I'm going to show you Tucker Carlson getting into it with him and giving him a hard time for his previous positions. The reason they say this stuff is the guy wrote an op-ed for the New York Times in March 2015, about 3 years ago. The headline, "To Stop Iran's Bomb, Bomb Iran." Now, that is written by the headline writers, but if you go through the text of the article, that is what he proposes, and he thinks Israel should do it. He's extremely pro-Israel. We can say he's clearly a Zionist. Very happy in one of the interviews I watched about the embassy being moved to Jerusalem and recognizing Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. Say it's something we should have done for a long time. Claims that Israel should have bombed Iran a long time ago in their nuclear facilities. Does not want negotiation with anybody, and I'll play you some clips that suggest that. And a reminder, this guy is hand-selected by Donald Trump. What we're going to argue is the first set of advisors, the one, he just changed his whole White House. The first set of advisors was kind of recommended to him based on, and maybe Steve Bannon had something to do with it, but they were recommended to him based on their experience. Many of them, including H.R. McMaster and Rex Tillerson, were at odds with the president over the president's very hawkish stance on North Korea. That basically, I'm just telling you that these are the people that Donald Trump picked. Okay. So people claim Donald Trump is run by the deep state and that it's all their fault and he just has to go along to get along. I'm telling you, Donald Trump is feeling great. And for people who think that everything is a puppet show and that he's just being controlled by other forces, maybe a little bit, but he really is feeling like a big swinging dick right now. And he thinks he's got it all under control. And he's feeling good about firing people, replacing them with the people he wants. He feels like he's getting legislation through. He's passed these crazy spending and tax cut bills that just add trillions to the deficit. And he's feeling great. The stock market was doing great. The trade wars, something he came up with personally. Nobody advised him on it. He just came out of nowhere and said, "Hey, I'm going to start a trade war." Meanwhile, we can see the reaction in the stock market. He's feeling it. He feels like he's in the zone. These are the people he picked. Okay, he picked. And I'm going to propose that Donald Trump himself is actually in control of himself, and the actions we see him do that we disagree with are actually the actions that come out of his own head. That's what I want to propose. That's why I'm going to show you some of the people who work for him. This is less than a month ago. The same guy who had written the op-ed saying we should bomb Iran first, also just less than a month ago wrote in the Wall Street Journal the legal case for striking North Korea first. And he agrees with Mike Pompeo, the new head of state, that or Secretary of State, that Pyongyang will have miniaturized nuclear weapons within a matter of months, and that that we're very justified within the law to strike first, and that negotiations with North Korea, as you heard in the beginning video, would be fruitless and ridiculous. He also lied about weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, and he spreads he kind of drops lies in everything he says. In order, he's really hawkish against Iran and wants to pull out of the Iran deal. He doesn't think negotiations are going to be fruitful. I already told you that. You already heard that. I'm going to play you a pretty good interview by Tucker. I think I'm safe on it because Fox doesn't go after people for playing their stuff. So I'm going to play, I think, basically the whole thing and hope that you're as interested as I was in it. And you can decide for yourself, of course.
Ambassador John Bolton, a frequent fixture here on Fox, was at the White House yesterday for a personal meeting with the President of the United States. News reports, a lot of them suggest he could be the next national security advisor. So the following question is more relevant than ever. What does Ambassador Bolton think is the greatest threat to America today? Ambassador Bolton joins us tonight. Great to see you, Ambassador.
Glad to be here.
So it feels like we're moving kind of in slow motion toward a conflict with Iran and Russia in Syria. Do you think we are?
Well, I think that's one possibility. I think the Iranians have clearly gamed what they plan to do after the defeat of the ISIS territorial caliphate.
Yes.
I think they were thinking of it when our strategists were not thinking of it, and we're now suffering the consequences with Iran literally on Israel's border, flying drones into Israeli airspace. I don't think that's the really most dangerous aspect of the Middle East, though. I still think it's Iran's support for terrorism and its continued effort to get deliverable nuclear weapons.
Right. So obviously,
I'll interrupt. I got to figure out if one of my videos got struck for copyright for playing too much news stuff, but I really like this Tucker Carlson interview, so I'm just going to interrupt it a few times. He just said that Iran is the world's #1 sponsor of terrorism. Actually, Tucker has a perfect response to him, too.
obviously Iran was greatly empowered by the fall of Saddam. I think in retrospect we can concede that. There haven't been any Iran-sponsored terror attacks in this country that I'm aware of in the last 25 years. There have, of course, been many, many, many sponsored by Saudi Arabians of the Gulf states and the Sunni Arab world. So why should we see Iran as our primary threat?
Because Iran, for many decades, has been the world's central banker of international terrorism, funding Shia, Sunni terrorists on an equal opportunity basis, providing arms.
Those are made-up facts, actually. So
To them as they do to Hamas in the Gaza Strip. So it's their support for terrorism generally that should concern us, not necessarily specific attacks in the United States.
But I mean, in order to commit American troops and the billions it takes to prosecute any kind of conflict, wouldn't you want to go after the people who are attacking us here first?
Yeah. Well, nobody's talking about committing massive amounts of troops.
I'm going to take it easy. Nobody watches these videos after the fact anyway, but I'm still going to play a little bit more because he responds to how the Iraq war went, and I just want to at least get a clip from that. So let me try to advance forward.
You have to, since you just said that Iran is the single greatest threat to us and to that region. I think you'll concede that Saddam was the greatest counterbalance to Iran, and they were empowered by his fall. So I think it's fair to say if you think Iran is the real threat that way, it's kind of hard to defend that decision, right?
No, because I think your analysis is simple-minded, frankly.
Okay.
The Iranian threat, which stems from the revolution of 1979, was underway quite apart from what Saddam Hussein was doing. The Iranians have been trying to get nuclear weapons for 25 years.
So you don't think the fall of Saddam made Iran stronger?
I think it made the fall of Saddam, did not make Iran stronger. What made Iran stronger ultimately was the withdrawal of American forces in 2011.
So if you...
All right, I'm going to stop it there just to stay on the safe side of copyright. He says that overthrowing Saddam was actually a great thing, and that the problem was the follow-up to it, and that people who say that, Tucker challenges him on the fact that he wanted to overthrow Syria and Iraq, Libya as well, and Tucker asks him, how it went in Libya and Iraq, and if those were failures, and he won't admit that, really. The guy's pretty nuts. He wasn't confirmed as ambassador of the UN because Democrats filibustered him, but they hate him. They really do hate him overseas. I'm gonna play. Okay, so that's John Bolton. Don't let anybody tell you any different. I heard one Fox News commentator saying it's good because he agrees with Donald Trump, et cetera, et cetera. Let me play you a little Nikki Haley. So this is there's kind of a triumvirate, I think, is Nikki Haley, who's insane, John Bolton, who's even worse, and now Mike Pompeo as as Secretary of State, who also they're all on the same page: war with Iran, war with North Korea. Let's see. I have buffering. I'll refresh. Let me just play you a little clip. Oh, no. No. That's not good. Oh, no. They screwed me up. How will I find that again? Hold on one sec. Okay. Here. I just want to play you what
Yesterday,
she's
the North world closer to war, not farther from it. We have never sought war with North Korea, and still today, we do not seek it. If war does come, it will be because of continued acts of aggression like we witnessed yesterday. And if war comes, make no mistake, the North Korean regime will be utterly destroyed.
utterly destroyed. She's unbelievable. And also on the world stage, these people that Trump picks, I can't tell you. It is the end of the world as we know it, I believe. Let me move on to more news, and then we'll get to your phone calls. Thanks for tuning in today. Let me give you the rest of the news. That's an interesting news. Let's go to trade wars, and then I'll tell you about Craigslist and that new legislation. China's about to launch tens of billions more in tariffs. I told you guys about tariffs and how stupid they are and how it turns always into a tit-for-tat trade war. So far, the Chinese have said they're not going to do much, that it's just a light retaliation. And their ambassador to the United States tweeted out saying that China's retaliation lists against the 301 investigation will target U.S. products worth tens of billions of dollars. It is in the making. And we send China quite a bit of stuff. I mentioned that our soybean producers send 50% of their exports to China, and China could easily crack down on that. Basically, it's going to put us in a recession, which I think markets are figuring out anyway. The Dow has been ready to break. I mean, the stock markets have been due for the bubble to pop for a long time. The markets didn't necessarily need any more good reasons. It all could have happened on its own. But the way things work, you end up having everything happen at the same time. And the biggest thing is this trade war. And I'm showing you a year of the Dow Jones Industrial Average just to show you how much has been wiped off in the last, since the end of January. And there's no indication that it's going to slow down at this point. So this is the end. This is what everyone has been predicting. It appears that the eventuality that everyone has been predicted may be beginning to come true, and there's some consensus that that's the case. Whereas I've thought the stock market would crash since 2014. I've been telling people to buy silver and gold, and I'm also into cryptocurrencies, and I believe those are going to be really successful with the crash in the markets and the crash in the U.S. dollar. I could tell you so many different things that are going to go wrong. It's just going to be it's going to be something that none of us have ever experienced before, where nobody alive will have experienced anything like what we're about to go through. Strangely enough, by hedging against that outcome, the rest of us can actually end up in a very positive place by having things like gold and silver, most likely by having things like cryptocurrencies and items that will, and then, guns and ammo aren't bad either as far as an investment, because in the future, things are going to be priced a lot higher in dollars. That's one thing the trade war guarantees. The tariffs are taxes we pay on goods coming in to the United States that we used to get cheaper. And that us paying more for goods that we buy is going to raise inflation, meaning the price for things in dollars goes higher. And things that protect against the falling dollar, like gold and silver traditionally, and like cryptocurrencies, perhaps, we believe, as a hedge against inflation. And we're going to see stuff. The thing that's going to happen is the central banks are responsible for blowing this bubble up. What's going to happen is they're not going to allow things, or they're going to do their very best not to allow things to collapse. And as a result of that, are just going to print massive amounts of money. And that just devalues all the dollars you have in your bank account. It's the dollars you have now are worth a lot more than the dollars you'll have in the future. So any of the ones you can exchange for things that will go up in dollars, like cryptocurrency most likely, and gold and silver certainly, you're going to get more of it for your money right now than you will in the future. But it probably will be going up for a long time. I can show you that gold and silver are doing pretty well. Up today, each more than 1%. Gold is the best performing asset on the year, far outperforming the markets, which are now down for the year. Silver is a good alternative to gold. It's going to rise basically the same way. Most people listen to my show who would be buying precious metals would be buying silver the way I did a while back, and look forward to it finally going up in price. So we'll see. This is what we're on the cusp of. Like I said, it's the end of the world as we know it. It looks like Donald Trump is positioning us to go to war right now, and particularly with the advisors he's put in place. The meeting with North Korea is basically his advisor, John Bolton, says it's worthless, that it can either be a short meeting that goes nowhere or a long meeting that goes nowhere, that short of Kim Jong-il saying that he's going to retire and to China, that it's not going to have the result. We just can't trust them. So because of that, we need to do a preemptive strike against them, which of course could end up getting millions of South Koreans killed. I'm sure they'll be real happy with that decision. We risk basically going against all international norms and becoming a pariah, a rogue state like Israel, based on actions that we're likely to take unilaterally, based on the latest moves by Donald Trump. So Donald Trump, during the campaign, remember, he said, oh, we wasted all this money in the Middle East. We're in these needless wars in the Middle East. Well, he got rid of ISIS, but apparently, as per the Russians, we were just preparing to strike Israel in Syria. We had warships lining up to strike in Syria, awaiting a chemical weapons false flag attack, which we're setting up with rebels in Ghouta, in civilian area, that going to be used as a pretext for attacking Syria. So that was already in motion, the Russians allege. And for them to come up with an accusation like that is pretty serious. So, I would take it kind of seriously, and it's a far more important event than most people realize. If the Russians are right, then we were about to attack Damascus, where there are Russian troops. And the Russians said, if you attack someplace with Russian troops, we will respond. Not only destroying the missiles, but also destroying the places they were launched from, going after what would be naval assets of the United States. So we're close. I mean, we're really close. We're really close. I'm probably going to try to ask some people at the rally tomorrow whether they'd come out to demonstrate against war, since they're so excited to demonstrate against guns. I wonder if they're willing to come out in big numbers to demonstrate against war. It seems like everybody's worried about these hot topics, which aren't really the most important issues of the day. The most important issues of the day are these crazy freaking people that Donald Trump is choosing to lead the White House. Tillerson, did I tell you that already? Tillerson was at odds with the president about North Korea, said we should negotiate all the time. And McMaster was the same. So we take them, we replace them with people who want to attack North Korea and end the nuclear deal in Iran and probably attack Iran. That shows where we're headed. So if you're looking forward to that kind of thing, then MAGA, right? But otherwise, we have to really have some opposition to this president. That's why Q is dangerous, because it puts people in this, la la land, this alternative reality where they think, oh, Donald Trump, don't worry about anything he does that looks bad on the surface, because he's definitely playing 4D chess and definitely working on behalf of the American people. Definitely. Because what we want is war. But those people have to wake up. There aren't a lot of them watching this show. I think it's a reason I might tune in to, quite frankly, myself after this show, because he's a big Trump supporter. Curious if he'll be talking about stuff like that on his show today. I have to make sure he schedules his shows in advance. That's why I decided to be a little more timely and show up. Let me see. I think he's on live today. Yes. Yep. Right after this show. Okay, great. We'll take your phone calls next. Let me just give you a story that I have an opinion about, and has to do with this this human trafficking bill. What is it called? TAFTA? Anyway, Fight Online Sex Trafficking Act. FOSTA. Fight Online Sex Trafficking Act. A while back, the government shut down a website called Backpage, backpage.com. It was the only website at the time where people could post personal ads where they said they would exchange basically time for money. Not explicitly sex for money, but the thing that escorts are allowed to do, actually, which is exchange time for money. Well, that whole thing was shut down by the government. And now the government has passed this new thing, FOSTA, which is allegedly designed to fight sex trafficking. And that's what they said, is because the service of Backpage, they weren't the ones who wrote the posts, because the service of Backpage, the content of it might be advertising for someone who had been trafficked. Because of that, they had to go after the operator of the site. I believe they went after him legally for something that happened on his website under his post, on that website under those posts. And I don't know how they know whether one post or another post is human trafficking. Actually, it's not actually explicitly illegal what was going on there. And anything that was illegal, they actually would be trying to filter through. So it's more stuff where something might have been related to human trafficking and so forth. But again, strictly speaking, actually escorting or whatever is actually legal. You can actually charge people to spend time with you. So whether something else happens on top of that, or whether it's expected or whatever, it's still within the law. And you can ask Vin Armani if you want to know the story about that, because that's what he does for a living in Las Vegas, where prostitution is not explicitly legal. Does that make sense? So that website was taken down for something that people actually do legally, and some people do, and what people will argue is that it actually makes that kind of work unsafe, work which people are going to do one way or the other. Because rather than that person, a single mom or whatever, who does that for an income, whether you agree with it or not, can do that from the safety of their computer and screen people and stuff, but that would move that person theoretically to the street, or maybe even leave them victim to human trafficking, or it could make things actually a lot worse, is what people would argue. Well, now, because of this bill, Craigslist, which has a section that some of you may be familiar with, an infamous section called Casual Encounters, as well as other personal ads, has dropped personal ads entirely after the passage of this sex trafficking bill. And I know there are some people in my chat who have browsed the Casual Encounters section, whether it be for your own amusement or for something more. And that is now a matter of history. as Craigslist shuts it down. Now, that is a section which people use the same way they use apps like Tinder and all that stuff to actually meet people. And I've heard that it's sometimes that it's not a den for sex traffickers and that real people actually have used it before. But this is a serious thing, and this is why people talked about this thing that purportedly is a good thing, Fight Online Sex Trafficking Act, and how it can be used against websites. And the concern is that what this leaves open is the fact that any web operator, any website operator is going to be held responsible as the operator for things that are posted on their website. So what you could get into is you have a site like Zero Hedge, where sometimes people get a little wild in the comments section, might say things about Jews, might say other things, and you could end up, theoretically, if this is stretched out a little bit further, once the slippery slope argument is that eventually my videos on YouTube, if somebody leaves a comment under it that I don't approve of, that I didn't have a chance to sort through, that's in some way offensive to some person, or somebody says is promoting terrorism, then boom, channels could get deleted. YouTube could be held personally responsible. So this is the danger for internet freedom, and that's why the ACLU and the Electronic Frontier Foundation are concerned about legislation. It's passed the Congress, but I believe has not been signed yet. All the same, Craigslist decided to proactively shut down that section so they aren't willy-nilly found to be outside of the law. So, but I'm going to say Tinder's got hookers on there. So I don't see how any dating website, I mean, what about findingarrangement.com, where people find sugar daddies? How do you say for sure that there's not trafficking going on there? There probably is to some extent. So this is going to affect a wide range of dating sites. There are all kinds of dating sites where people want to have casual sex or maybe some other extreme form of sex, but they're deciding to do it. I don't know if that's going to be legal anymore. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to anonymously meet a partner for sex anymore, you guys. So there are probably a few tears coming down people's cheeks right now. I think that's what I have news for. I'm going to go ahead and open up the telephones and hear what people have to say on Fridays. Remember, tomorrow, 8 a.m. Pacific time, 11 a.m. Eastern time, I hope to be broadcasting live already from the March for Our Lives Los Angeles, the gun control rally allegedly organized by teenagers in Los Angeles. Hopefully it will be a pretty big rally. They're expecting 500,000 people in Washington, D.C. I would have loved to be there. Unfortunately, couldn't make it. But still traveling to L.A. to get that done. We'll be doing it on this channel. I'm going to open the phone. It's actually not open yet. It's open now. 650-GAY-TAXI, 650-429-8294. And tune in for that. Could be interesting. Maybe I'll let you guys try to tell me questions I should ask people as I'm interviewing them. And maybe we'll get some drama on there. You just never know when Lift the Veil shows up to a rally, what's going to happen. As a reminder, for people who've joined late, there's a dog barking. As a reminder, I sponsor my show by selling t-shirts, which, like this one, okay, which I'll wear to the rally tomorrow. And maybe I'll sell some. You can buy those at truthclothing.io, where I have my Russian bot shirt as well, which people really like. It's the second ad I'm running the show, but I don't have a phone call right now. So check those out to support the show. We actually need support for going to rallies like we are. Long drive, lots of gas, meals, expenses, etc. It always ends up costing me more money than I bring in. So any support for that is great. You can also do that at paypal.com/lifttheveil and paypal.me/lifttheveil. Thank you, everyone who's ever supported this show in any way. It's constantly amazing to me. This is Nathan. You're on the air.
Hey, just lift the veil, right?
You got it.
Hey, Nathan, how you doing?
Great.
Great. I can only talk real quick because I'm on a delivery right now. I'm delivering some Chinese food.
Okay.
But I just wanted to see have you seen that video on Milo's YouTube page? I'm not sure if you keep up with Milo, but I like him from time to time. But he showed that undercover audio of the teachers down there in Florida meeting about it was like some heavy-handed coaching to the kids. Did you hear that one?
No, I haven't seen that yet. When did that come out? That's a video that just came out, or?
Yeah, he just put the video up, I'd say 2-3 days ago, and I'm like totally shadow banned on Twitter, but no one's liked it, no one's seen it, any of my stuff forever, because I'm like totally shadow banned. But yeah, you should check it out on Milo's YouTube page. It's like 5 minutes long.
Okay.
And he shows pictures too, and they're like praising Joe Biden like he's some kind of god or something, but which is disgusting.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But yeah, totally. You should check that out. I don't know if you got time to look for it and play it for your viewers.
I've been looking out.
I'm checking. I'm on the page right now. I'm going to look for it. So I'm going to look for it and see if I have time to play it.
Awesome, buddy. Awesome.
Cool.
I gotta go, my friend. Love
okay.
You.
Cool. See ya. I was going to ask him what the order was. Pretty cool. He's delivering Chinese food. Usually, Chinese food delivery guys don't speak English that well. Not racist or anything. It's just, 650-429-8294. I think I have enough people tuned in for phone calls. The live show has been doing all right. After the fact, let me see. Oops. I just deleted myself. What else has shown up? Oh, donations I can take down. I had the Discord invite up so people can join me on my Discord chat. They're going after Discord. They're saying, oh, people get banned from Reddit and then they radicalize on Discord. I'm looking for the video this guy's talking about. But hidden audio. Got it. Okay, I'll close the phone since people aren't calling real fast. I'll open it back up again. Let me go ahead and play what this caller just talked about.
Those of you I did not meet in my reception line, I am Debbie Miller, she of the multicolored emails. And on behalf of Giffords, I could not be more excited to welcome you all to our We Are the Change trip. Speaking in front of kids for a living is super easy, but this is a little nerve-wracking. So, first of all, I want to say thank you to Beverly Lewis and got this place donated, and we are super appreciative. So please, if you have any events coming up, have them here at the Marriott. Everyone who's going, it would be amazing if you could familiarize yourself with the Giffords organization. Giffords has not only arranged an unbelievable itinerary for us, but they've got medical support, there's security, there's counseling, there's media relations, pretty much everything that they could think of, they have arranged for us. We've got teachers. I feel like it's like going to camp. Like, have you texted your mom?
I think maybe the point is I'm seeing this for the first time, so trying for you guys not to get lost. I think it's indicating that there's adult support behind these gun control rallies. That's one thing you'll see in all the articles. I tried to find out who's funding this stuff. There are plenty of left-wing anti-gun groups that are supporting these marches, but they all say in every article, and they're quick to point out that it's really all about the kids, that the kids are organizing this thing from their living rooms. Although, of course, a major high-powered organizer of the Women's March is the one that booked the venue, of course, down in Washington, D.C., made sure to set up that march. We have T-shirts for sale from those guys. supporting the march. I mean, all kinds of infrastructure, hundreds of rallies set up around the country. And we're meant to believe that it's all done by high school kids who are interested in getting guns off the street and being safe in their schools from AR-15s.
My tech support extraordinaire has set up a Facebook page and Instagram.
The username is wearethe_change_DC, because we are the change was taken.
If you don't have an itinerary, it's because when I got up to like almost 200, my principal was like, I'm assuming that's not for school, and I was like, Sure it is. If you've had a chance to go over it, you'll see that it is really, really, really outstanding. They've also gotten us into some private viewings of museums that ordinarily it takes forever, like 5 years to get into. We're also going to have some things that are not on the agenda that are kind of top secret, so all the press here, just pretend you're not hearing this. But we will be introduced on Capitol Hill by Nancy Pelosi, so that's kind of cool. Mitch McConnell is threatening to meet with us, but I'm not sure if he really means that or not, as is Marco Rubio. So we'll see how that one goes. And it's quite possible we're going to have a private meeting with Joe Biden.
Yay!
I got to speak to Joe Biden on the phone through Giffords, and he's really dedicating his life, I have to tell you guys, to your cause. Poster making, we're going to have our own Parkland Lounge, they're calling it, for you guys to go and decompress.
Safe space, safe place.
Zones. Okay. All media requests, as you guys know, and you've been doing great, have to go through Anna direct, through Giffords. The greatest thing that has happened to me throughout this whole process is that I was given a press attaché. How cool is that? They're like, what do you need? And I said, well, I don't know what I need. And they said, would you like a press?
It's too boring for me. I'll go back to phone calls. Look, it says hidden audio, Broward County teachers busted planning a illegal march. So the description is interesting. A meeting between Parkland students and anti-gun activists mobilizing for the highly anticipated March for Our Lives event, Washington, D.C., were captured on hidden audio in Broward County. The meeting, which was described as a nonpartisan briefing for students, parents, and staff members from Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High who were attending the March for Our Lives, was quickly exposed as being hijacked by Democratic Party top brass and fraught with extreme anti-conservative bias, misappropriation of school resources, and heavy-handed coaching for students when dealing with the media. I need to get to the part for how the heavy-handedness about students dealing with the media. This was mainly, I wanted to do some research on this before I went down to the march, just to ask people, hey, do you guys know who set this whole thing up? You know?
Attaché, and I said, I think I would. Because I feel like I'm the kind of person that should have a press attaché. So now I have one, and I go around telling people I have one. It's impressive, right? Giffords will be sending a person with you. There's no kids going to press events by themselves. And this is really important. You need to have your talking points ready. We are going to be met at the check-in counter at the Fort Lauderdale Airport by a person from Giffords. They're going to know you are because you're going to be wearing your cool Gifford shirt. Please wear your shirt on the plane. That is my one big request. Now, for plane captains, there's going to be a teacher at one end and there's going to be a teacher at the other end. So one teacher is going to make sure at the counter that you're checked off the list, that you get to security, and there'll be another teacher waiting at the other end of security. By the way, Southwest has donated all of these seats to us.
Oh, wow.
When we get off the plane, the Giffords people will be there. They will literally usher us off. We'll go to baggage. The buses that are taking us to DC are right there. It's not going to rain on Saturday, so yay. You're welcome. politician who said the Jews were in charge of weather, so you're welcome. But that's not right. The other thing is, and again, this is super
Pretty
off
funny.
the record. So, here's what happened. It was supposed to be a march. And then, shockingly, they wouldn't give permits for the march. So the march became a rally. Now, I've heard rumors from kids that since the rally is right on Pennsylvania Avenue and the White House is like a 20-minute walk up the street, then that might happen. So it's conceivable that we could leave at the end of the rally and walk to the White House where we rally some more and hold up our signs and say our piece and create a little hell, and then go to the NEA building and have hot chocolate.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to me because there's no doubt that there's all kinds of corporate sponsorship around this thing. You heard they have buses and free flights from Southwest. I mean, there's so many different entities involved in planning these rallies for the kids, and then it's just an exploitation of these kids to ban guns. I'm going to have to ask, are you okay with children being exploited for your agenda? They'll be like, what do you mean? They organized this. Pretty funny. Yeah, that's a pretty funny clip. It's right along the lines of what I was thinking. You can call now, 650-GAY-TAXI. Happy Friday. See you tomorrow. No, I'm not saying it's over. Oh, if I get any more phone calls, we'll see. Hopefully we have enough show to lead into the next show. Otherwise, we might have to end things early. I always get upset when that happens. I always get upset when people let me down, my listeners, by not calling. I talked about John Bolton. I talked about Nikki Haley. Talked about our president. Talked about Craigslist. This is Nathan. You're on the air.
Hey, Nathan. It's Ron.
Hey, what's up?
I just called to talk about false flags. We were talking about the Gabby Giffords. We know that was
a fake shooting. Careful what you say there.
Oh, my bad. I don't know what to call it.
There are some questions about it. That's what you could say. There's some questions about whether she really is, whether that whole thing that she's doing is not a real thing. Yeah, have you seen what Jeranism? Jeranism in particular was focused on that.
Oh, like the lack of a hole in her scalp. I'm not sure.
Stuff like that, and also
anomalies like the California fires.
And her astronaut husband, of course.
Right. Right, astronaut. Yeah, I think there's something with NASA, maybe some black budget money that they use for stuff, like certain things.
Yep. It's a pretty interesting story for people who haven't looked into it. Unfortunately, can't look into it anymore because all those videos have been taken down off the internet. But
yeah, I know. And I was talking about another one. It's with the word sand and like a fish hook.
Yep.
And I had some pictures of the children, and they look to be doing quite well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, people have seen that. Are you talking about the Super Bowl thing?
No, there's another more recent photo of all of mostly it's the girls, and then they're all together, and you could see their picture from the Super Bowl and their picture now, and you're like, wow, that's about maybe, how many years ago was the Super Bowl?
The Super Bowl thing, I don't know. I don't know exactly what year that was, but I haven't actually looked into it. But
they're a little bit older. They're like maybe 13 or something. And you could see from the Super Bowl maybe they were 9 or 10 or whatever. Mm-hmm. But they were already older when this incident happened. That's how they kind of kept this. And then they put it right in our face, like, ha, you guys will never figure this out.
Right.
And it's like, wait, a lot of people did, and nobody will listen to me. My friend, he's pretty red-pilled on a lot of stuff, he's like, are you telling me that everybody's in on this? Are they all, you know what I'm saying? I don't even know if I can say fake.
I understand. I understand the feeling, too. I used to think the same thing. I was like, well, they can't. It's not even worth looking into because it would be impossible. And then I looked into 9/11. I was like, holy shit. I was like, if they can do that, then all bets are off, basically.
That's what concerns me the most. I'm like, is there no good people left? The only guy, like Wolfgang, put his neck on the line, and he was dragged through the hot coals. And then these firemen, they're afraid to speak out because they're going to be destitute if they lose their pension. I mean, they've worked their whole life. It's like, what am I going to do? How am I going to? Nobody's going to come to their defense. Nobody came to Wolfgang's defense.
Right.
So say 100 firemen came forward and say, hey, we know all about this. We shoveled the crap out of there. We saw a lot of anomalies. We saw people bringing dirt in, and then people that live down there, like the Bankers Trust building was hit with the weapon, and it had to be brought down. Like 10 years later, they repaired the damage. It was like damage to the facade. A couple floors were hit, and the metal in the concrete, they kept like rotting. They were decaying. Even after they fixed it, they couldn't stop this degeneration of the building materials. Like it kept rotting away. So it caused some kind of reaction. And anyway, they had to bring the building down with like a, like the ball thing, the wrecking ball.
Right.
They smash it the old-fashioned way because there's all kind of buildings around.
Right.
They can't just. And another anomaly, they call that a telescope, when the building comes straight down on itself.
Right.
And when you have an asymmetrical collapse, when the top of the building was tilting.
Right.
Remember the second building that was like hit and it was tilted a little bit sideways and then it started falling? That piece, that was an asymmetrical collapse. You can't have a telescope once you have an asymmetrical collapse already started, because it's going to fall off to the side. That big chunk of building, it should have fell. It was cracked off. Like when you cut a tree down, that piece of the tree lands on the ground. That piece of building should have fell on the ground. There's no way it could have turned to dust.
It exploded
in thin air
before
it hit the ground.
I know. It's crazy. Well, it's crazy once you know what happened, and then you look at the pictures, and it's the pictures they show all the time, the building's going down, and then you're looking at it, and you're like, the building explodes, I mean, how can you even look at it any other way? And then it's amazing you ever thought it was actually a real collapse. I mean, the building blows up. It turns into dust, And not to mention the part that you're mentioning is that the top fell off and then blew up somehow.
It turned to dust, like I don't know, maybe 20 floors of building. It was like already cracked and it was going to fall. And then it just literally just goes poof, poof. It turns into dust before your eyes. In a matter of seconds, you're watching a massive piece of building. I don't know how many floors that was, but it just like literally, and there was no seismic event. In other words, 120,000 tons of steel and concrete, they didn't slam into the ground. It would have cracked the foundation wall. The bathtub foundation, they call it? That would have been blown out. That's a tremendous amount of energy. If it was enough energy to pancake each floor, why not? Why is there not enough energy to pancake the entire, the foundation walls?
Yeah, well, that's a good point. I mean, that's one thing is if people want to look into this stuff, it's a great place to start because there's so much different evidence you can look at. I don't know what's available still on the internet. Everything about Sandy Hook's been erased. But there might still be stuff out there about 9/11. It's well, anyway.
There's a book. That's you know what? I didn't know about this. My neighbor actually gave me a book. I was just out cutting my lawn and she's like, oh, we were talking about just small talk, whatever. And I'm like, well, does he talk about 9/11? And I thought I was going to red pill her. And she's like, do you read? I'm like, yeah. So she goes inside and grabs this book. And it was Judy Wood's book, Where Did the Towers Go? And I'm like, I started looking in there. I'm like, oh, there's Tesla. I'm just thumbing through it. She's like, just read it. Just read it. And in the book, it doesn't tell you what did it. Like Judy Wood doesn't go out on a limb and say this because she's very, very good on that. She's like, I'm just presenting you with the evidence. Like, here's the crime scene. And she was like a forensic investigator. She's got all kind of PhDs. She's credentialed. And she's like, look at the toasted cars. Some of these cars were parked 3/4 of a mile away, and they're completely burned out. And there's like paper on the ground right underneath the car. How do you explain it's going to burn this car? It's going to torch it, and yet this paper didn't light. It's not burned. And that's what red pilled me. I'm like, holy crap, what is that? And I started seeing the same thing in California. The same situation, like the house was turned into powder.
Right.
And In Truth by Grace did a good video about that. She's like, where's the houses? Where's the dishwasher? And it's like, there's nothing there.
Right.
Everything was vaporized.
Yep, a lot of people pointed that out with those Northern California fires. Pretty suspicious the way it happened and the way it looked and the way people described it as well. It seemed like a really hellish kind of thing. Any current events you want to talk about?
There. You actually drove out there, you know.
I drove to the other fires, which the LA, the huge fires that were down in Southern California. Yeah, I drove out there to take a look for myself because I was curious if I'd see any lasers or anything. Didn't see any lasers though.
You only see that for a split second. There's pictures on the internet, like videos. You could see this blue beam. I don't know what it is, but once you initiate this process, it maintains itself. It's not actually like burning the stuff, because there's stuff that's burning, you know, for lack of a better word, it's burning, but it's not actual fire. Like steel doesn't burn, right? And concrete doesn't burn, but why is there like a flame, something that appears to be a flame coming out of this? Right. You don't need to keep hitting it with the laser, like, you know, like you're frying ants with a magnifying glass. You don't have to do that. You know, it's not just like, and it's just hitting it. Once you hit it, like the banker's trust, it sets about like some process where the shit just keeps rotting and rotting.
Any current events you want to talk about?
Well, we can't, because they're, you know, I would like to talk about a certain thing in Florida, but you know, and the pig person, but I can't.
Yeah.
I don't want you to get a strike.
Well, I know. I'm thinking about making a video called Harassment and Bullying or something like that, where I kind of analyze maybe a video that's gotten a strike before. I think I might be able to do that and just say, okay, this is what's considered harassment and bullying, because it's gotten pretty ridiculous. I mean, basically the explanation I got for this last strike where the appeal was rejected, and I actually was talking to a trusted flagger and had him look at it. He goes, making hoax videos about the event is targeting the victims of the event. And because of that, that's, you know, the harassment and bullying. It's targeting the victims of the event if you say that it might not have really happened the way they said it did. So that's why, you can't say anything about Florida shooting, anything that's not exactly what has already been reported in the news, you know. Even if you'd say that
budget,
then, we can talk about budgets. Yeah, the $1 trillion deficits. Very important.
Right. And he burned half of his base. And I'm like, well, where's this 3D chess, right? It's all it did is divide him from his base. So when the Democrats want to impeach him, everyone's going to be like, yeah, screw him. You know what I mean? What good is he? Look what he's doing. And they were loving it. Like all the libs, they were just loving it. And I don't know. It didn't do him any good. I thought he was like some expert negotiator.
Yeah, you're MAGA, right? Like, weren't you kind of MAGA, or were you Q
I'm not
or
like
anything?
A Trump tard.
Oh, you're not.
Like, you know, I'll call him out. No,
okay,
no,
all right.
Absolutely.
Do you think people are really turning away from him? That's why I wonder, because I think the same thing with the gun control things he said, and then some of this other stuff. Like, I think, especially the fiscal stuff. That people would say, well, I mean, what the fuck is going on? We have Republicans controlling everything, and they're spending money like crazy.
Yeah, he is. Like I said, I'm not one of those people, rah, like Sean Hannity, that will defend everything he does. You know, some of this stuff is indefensible. He's like, first we'll get the guns, and then we'll make the laws. Like, no, man, there's a Second Amendment for a reason.
Right,
and I think he's going to turn off a lot of his base. When he attacked Syria with the missile strike, boom, everybody jumped on him. I wouldn't say everybody, but I'd say like everybody under a certain age was like, F you. They didn't like that. There's no appetite for war.
Right.
Trump tried to sign like 80,000 men for the army, and nobody enlisted. The generals were like, I'm sorry, sir, we can't find any new recruits, because people know they're going to be like cannon fodder for the New World Order.
Right.
They know.
Right.
There's too many people. We've woken them up, and they're like, I'm not enlisting. I'm not going to be your cannon fodder. I'm not going to be forcibly injected with the vaccine. No, thank you. And that's a good sign. It's a good sign, because if they don't have men, boots on the ground, they can't do their New World Order, whatever, their devious plan.
Right.
They can't enact it.
Right. Well, that's what I wonder too. That's one of the things that gives me hope, is that I don't know if people are just going to go for it. You know, they can do the same thing, and they're running the exact same playbook as Iraq, and just making up lies about North Korea and Iran and and Syria, and thinking that everybody will believe it just the same way they bought it before. And it's not like it happened 50 years ago. I mean, this happened recently, where we were lied to in exactly the same way and led into these disastrous wars. And we've already been at war for how long? 15 years or something. So I hope there's no appetite for it. And I hope that's, people used to sign up for war. They were They were patriotic back in the day, but I think people are a little more skeptical now. And I'd hope to see some huge protests if we decide to start bombing people or start sending troops over there, for sure.
Well, people are patriotic. They don't want a war with Syria. They saw what happened to Iraq and Libya. It's like, why did we kill Gaddafi? It destabilized the whole region.
Right.
And Hillary with her cackle, ha ha ha, we came, we saw, he died. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's so disgusting. What difference does it make anyway? The ambassador was brutally murdered and raped and everything disgusting, and she doesn't care. I think she had him murdered. That was like a hit.
Yeah.
They allowed him to be assassinated.
Well, certainly celebrated as if that was the case, and what a disaster. All I can say is I hope that the people with bigger followings, the Mike Cernoviches, and maybe Alex Jones. I mean, I hope that when he goes there, that there's somebody who criticizes him. Some of these people who've been supportive of most of the things that have been done, and actually with John Bolton, I'm seeing that. I mean, there are a number of Trump supporters who are willing to point out, and even on Fox News, they're willing to point out, man, this guy's kind of nuts, I mean, he wants to go to war with Iran and North Korea, so we better strap in.
He's a total nut job. He's like a neocon warmonger, Bolton.
Yeah.
And I never liked the guy. I'm like, oh, man. And it's like, I hate to even side with the libs, but I will. You know what I mean? If he wants to go to war, I will go protest with the libtards.
Right, exactly.
I'm not down for that. And a lot of people, I think he knows that, because at his base, he was criticizing George Bush at his rallies when Trump was running for president. He's like, that was the stupidest mistake, invading Iraq. I was against it. Okay.
Right.
So now what? You're going to double down and destabilize the last stable government in the region? You're going to destabilize that? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, no kidding. All right, for Ron. Well, thanks for the call. We went over a lot of history. I appreciate it. Have a good weekend.
You too. Bye.
All right, cool. That's nice. It's nice to tell people. People are calling me. Somebody's calling me, leaving me messages. People, unfortunately, my phone can't give a busy signal. I wish it could. Somebody's leaving me messages. One overseas call, another call. Phone's open again, I think. Settings. Yeah, phone's open. 3650 gay taxi, in case you didn't know. After this, if you like staying tuned into YouTube, and I might tune in myself, we'll see what Quite Frankly has to say, especially as a Trump supporter. I'm really curious. This is Nathan. You're on the air. Hello? Hello? Oh, come on. This is an international call. Hello? Damn. Doesn't sound like it worked. Oh, I'll have to try again. I had to... Oh, here it is. Let's see. This is Nathan. You're on the air.
Hey, Nathan.
Hey, what's up?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hey, it's Will.
Hey, Will.
I'm calling from Portugal.
Cool. We have a call from Portugal, everyone.
Oh, this is my boss's phone, so I don't know how long the credit's going to last, but I'll probably be in trouble. But anyway, who cares? Yeah, it's good to get through finally. I've been trying for like a couple of months.
Oh, well, but, I'm glad we were able to get you on.
But can you hear me all right?
Yeah, I can hear you great.
Oh, that's good. What I just wanted to say, I love your show. It's fucking awesome, and Doshi's pretty cool. I actually got some stickers from you when I was in San Diego. You sent them down to me.
Oh, cool.
And yeah, so what my plan is, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick them on a few signs here and then take a picture and show you.
Oh, cool. That'd be great.
It's going to be in Portugal, so you got a fan base over here.
Awesome.
Although I am British, but I lived here for a long time.
Cool.
But I just wanted to say about John Bolton. I mean, fuck me, what's going on there? That guy is a complete disaster.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, it just seems like, I think I was like you, Nathan, to begin with. I was all for Trump getting in because, they drained the swamp and all this going on and that and this. but he's done nothing, and now he's got this guy next to him that is a staunch supporter of, war everywhere.
Right, everywhere. There's nobody he doesn't want to go to war with.
I know, and I feel quite unnerved about it, actually, even though here in Europe.
Yeah.
And there's not many people, over here. I mean, I live in a small town here in Portugal, and I have a lot of Portuguese friends, and they're not really tuned into world affairs. But it pains me. I try to tell people about stuff, but they don't seem to be that interested down here.
Really? I was actually going to ask, like, because generally speaking, actually, people around the world know who John Bolton is because he was a UN ambassador before under George W. Bush. But you're saying that even the people even there aren't really thinking about it, huh?
No, not really. I mean, when I asked my Portuguese friends about it, I sent you a few messages. I'm from Salisbury in Wiltshire originally, where the poisoning's going on at the moment.
Right.
And I asked them about that, and no one really seems to know about it down here. The thing about down in the Algarves, it's raining at the moment, but usually it's really sunny and everyone's drunk all the time, and that's kind of the way it is.
It's like Los Angeles. It's so nice there. Nobody cares.
Without we have a few earthquakes, but not as bad as there. But I just pull my hair out sometimes trying to tell people what's going on, and they're just like, oh well, it happens everywhere. I don't like the spy poisoning, for example. I was with one of my best friends. He said, well, it happens everywhere. I went, not really.
Yeah, right, exactly. Well, you know what's good, actually? The Portuguese government is one of the only governments that's waiting. I believe it's Portugal, not Spain, who's asking for more. It might be Spain, who's asking for more evidence before determining that it was definitely the Russians. I mean, it's such a ridiculous story. They're saying, well, it couldn't have possibly, or plausibly, they say, been anyone but the Russians, and France and Germany.
Mate, I'm from. I don't want to hijack your podcast because it's about John Bolton, who's a bellend. But I'm from Salisbury in Wiltshire.
Oh, you are.
I was born and bred there, and it's a very strange place because basically it's an army base. Because my dad was in the army, that's how I was born there. And can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead. I'm listening.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, and I was born and bred there, and not 8 miles away we have Bolton Down, which is the biggest chemical weapons and like nerve gas and all these kind of horrible things that are made in Europe. And actually, when I was a younger lad, when I was an apprentice mechanic for Land Rover, I remember in 1991, 92, Bolton Down is not far from where I worked, and it was in the local paper, but I don't think it would have been in the national press. But the Ministry of Defence actually leased out a piece of their land or sold it off to a local farmer because they no longer needed it. Anyway, he was ploughing it, and up came some canisters.
Oh, wow.
Which happened to be in green monkey gas or something of that similar. I can't really recall. But there was a big hurrah about it, but only in our local paper. I don't remember it getting any further. And so there's stuff like that happens all the time around there, and it's quite weird. When you grow up around there, it's very secret. And I've had a couple of friends that worked in Bolton Down, but only as cleaners, like janitors, if you say in America,
right?
Just cleaning floors, and they had to go through like massive security clearance and all that stuff. And they told me, like, this was back in the 90s. But they said it's very, very strange up there. You've got to pass all these things. And so I have no doubt that it's got even weirder now. And the secrecy of that place. Also, we have not far away from there is an airfield called Boscombe Down, which is pretty secretive as well. They do a lot of things up there that they don't want people to know about.
Right.
But anyway, as I say, I didn't want to hijack your post.
We like calls from
video.
overseas, so I wanted to let you get your thing out. Yeah, the Porton Down thing is something pointed out by the Russians too, is that it was right down the street from where they are known to have chemical weapons. So pretty interesting.
But it's pretty crazy that the British government saying, "Oh, Russia, Russia, Russia," without proof.
Right.
For me, it's just like, I just can't believe they're doing it. And you have that fucking, can I swear on this?
Sure, go ahead. Go ahead, we'll let you today.
that fucking asshole, fucking Boris Johnson.
Going, oh my God, I hate that guy.
Oh, Russia, Russia, Russia. He hasn't got a fucking clue what he's talking about.
I know.
And they're just saying Russia, Russia without any proof. And, I'm speaking to all my friends. Luckily, none of my friends or family were affected by the nerve gas in Salisbury. But all my friends I'm talking to, they're completely fed up with the whole thing. It's just like, what the fuck's going on? Why is everyone here? It's just no one's been giving any information, and it just seems to be going on and on and on.
Yeah.
And it's a bit crazy. So
yeah. Well, I wonder if people are going to fall for it. I guess that's the open question, because it seems so absurd.
Well, the thing is, I'm very suspicious about it from being in that area.
Mm-hmm.
It just seems too perfect. This Russia. I never even knew he lived there.
Right.
So did half my friends.
Right.
And but what we have to bring into it is what I've read is that his one of his handlers was Robert Steele.
Robert David Steele? No.
Yeah.
Oh no, you're talking about Christopher Steele.
Oh yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, the spy. Yeah, he was friends with Christopher Steele, the double agent, Skripal.
Christopher Steele was his handler.
No way.
From MI6.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's something. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. I need to look into that. So Skripal and Christopher Steele were somehow connected.
And also his other handler, Pedro something, I can't remember. He also lives in Salisbury, unknown to me.
Huh.
I don't know. But then, I've lived in Portugal for 12 years.
Mm-hmm.
I live here in Portugal for 12 years. So I wouldn't necessarily know what's going over there, but I go there once a year to see my family. But it's a very strange, for me, I was born and bred there. I grew up there. I went out to all the bars and pubs when I was a teenager, then got completely drunk and whatnot. It's just very weird.
Yeah.
This could happen in Salisbury, it's a small town, and
yep.
I don't know what to say. But no, going back on topic,
okay.
What I'd like to say is, what's going on with Donald Trump? He was meant to drain the swamp. He's clearly not. He's bringing in more and more war hawks. What do you think? Do you think there's going to be a war in Iran? What's your? Perception?
I don't see what's stopping it anymore. He just fired everybody who was trying to stop him. We're going to pull out of the nuclear deal. We'll maybe do a preemptive strike against North Korea. The meeting with North Korea is clearly now not being viewed as something where they're going to talk about anything serious. So it sounds like that could happen. We could have bombing in Syria, bombing in North Korea, all that stuff could become an eventuality. So I gotta run right now. I gotta try to take one more call. Did you have anything else?
Okay, Nathan, it's a pleasure to talk to you, mate.
Thanks,
Cheers.
Will. All right, cheers. Okay, this other show started. I said I would do a lead into that show. I had one other person who wanted to call, so let me see if that person, I can even call them back. Here, phone's open. They've been calling. I'm just going to, okay. This person is just calling over and over and over again. So I'll try to call them. I'll try to call them, make it quick. And then, quite frankly, started his show. He started his show already. I'm watching it. We'll get you guys tuned over to that if you want to stay tuned to YouTube. I'm making an outgoing call. This will be the last call of the show. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Thanks for tuning in tomorrow.
Hello, Scott.
Hey, Scott, it's Nathan. Lift the veil.
Hey, I'm glad you called.
Yeah, no problem. I saw you calling a bunch. What's up?
I don't know if you've ever seen this diagram. Can I post it, a link real quick? It's a Homeland Security training manual.
Oh, you posted something? You posted something?
I'm going to do it right now. If
Okay.
all right.
Okay, sure.
Okay, it should be there now. I found this when I was looking into Las Vegas, and somebody else's channel had actually found this. And if you look back at some of the videos, just by chance, go back, you'll see a bunch of U.S. Army trailers, and that's what this person had found suspicious. But then when you start looking into it, the people, you see some people go over there and put on makeup and stuff. So
where's this? At what event? Or is it just like at a drill? Or
the one from October 1st.
Oh, okay, in Las Vegas. Oh, sure. Yeah, you're going to try to post that in the chat, or where are you going to?
Put it in the chat. Yeah, it's under WAG CGO. You'll see FEMA.gov. Media library.
Where did you post it in the Lift the Veil chat?
I'm on Twitch. Yeah, your Twitch.
Oh, on Twitch. Okay, cool. I'll look at it.
I'll give you the initials for the program. It's H as in Henry, S as in Sam, E as in Edward, E as in Edward, P as in Paul.
Okay.
So if you look under Homeland Security, that program is from 2013, I believe.
Okay.
It lays out in 71 pages how they do these exercises.
Okay, cool. Okay, cool.
Right, I just wanted you to see that. So.
Thanks. That's awesome.
Right.
Thanks for the call. All right. See ya. Bye-bye. Okay, cool. That is okay. See you guys tomorrow. Tune in again on this channel as long as it's still available. 8 a.m. my time is when I'm going to try to be streaming by. The rally starts at 9 a.m. It goes till 1. I've never made it through the end of a rally, but we're going to try to get in there, get some interesting interviews, get people tuned in, see what we can find. Right? Quite Frankly's on. This is his show. I'll show you right here going on YouTube. I'll send you a link to it.
What is your take?
See what he's talking about in terms of Donald Trump. I might tune in for a bit. Anything else I need to tell you guys? Check out that roundtable show too. Just search Victoris Libertas and get on their channel. And then there's something that says epic discussion, truther, chat, whatever. Thanks everybody for all your calls. Thanks people for tuning in all week. And I'll see you, like I said, I'll see you tomorrow. We're going to do some extra work this weekend. That is what it is.